Alright, welcome back guys. Like I said, for this part we're just going to finish collecting all of the letters, all the Maggie Adler letters, and then we're going to head into the bomb shelter. So let's just get right into it. Oh, Jonas! Jonas is with us now. He didn't follow us up from the bomb shelter originally, but that's alright. He can come with us. At the end of the last part, Ren called us out, like, blatantly of, like, hey, you've been kind of a shitty friend. You went after Clarissa first instead of me. You didn't take me with you when we split up. There it is.
Oh, she was working at the tower the morning they sank.
Alright. We do have to go into the woods briefly because there is one last letter in this area. Then there's one on the beach and one in town and one on the cliffs. So we will get those once we get this one. There's only a few left, and then we should have everything pieced together of what the hell happened when the Kanaloa sank. Hey, all this furniture is here. This stuff wasn't here before.
I think this stuff is getting pulled in from, like, their time or something. This is so weird.
Yeah, it's not exactly a good omen. I think we're running out of runway here.
Yes, it certainly seems that way, doesn't it, Jonas? Time is indeed running short. I'm trying to move as fast as I possibly can. I really wish that there was some kind of fast travel system for this game. At least for, like, this part. I can understand not having it when we're going to find our friends, but
I guess Maggie was the one who had this place turned into a park.
we still haven't found out why Maggie died or how Maggie died. Just that she was old. So we've got that one. Our last one was down past the bomb shelter. I'm hoping that doing this stuff isn't really moving time forward. We're already at 5:30 a.m. They said we had till dawn. I don't know what time dawn is in the game. So it's a little concerning. But I have to assume that if they gave us this sort of side quest thing and then gave us the option to do the side quest, that it wouldn't just be like, oh, guess what? Doing the side quest causes you to lose because you ran out of time. Okay. With these flashbacks that we've had of Alex and Michael, it's a little confusing because the last one we saw, we were walking right here. We were heading back up to the boat. At least that's where he said we were going, but the boats aren't that way. The boats are this way, so I don't know. And then how did he drown up there? Turn the game audio down a little bit. Just music. There's no words going on right now. We don't need to be listening to the soundtrack at the moment. yeah, there's a lot of shit that still needs to be resolved, but once we go into the excuse me, once we go into the shelter, that's gonna lead us to the cave, and then that's the end of the game.
I didn't know Maggie grew up in Maine.
All right, turn that back down. I don't remember what I was talking about before the letter. Yeah, sorry. So when we go into the cave, that's the final showdown. That's the final countdown. We're gonna fight to save Clarissa. See if we can pull her out of their grasp. Oh, there's one.
That woman, Marianne Bosick, helped her transcribe the ghost's transmissions.
I find myself now when I'm trying to look at the camera, I kind of look behind it at the feed that's on the screen behind the camera. So if you see me looking like this, like not at camera, that's because that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at myself because, yeah, that's me. I'm vain. No, it's just because I'm sitting alone in my house talking to myself. And there's nothing happening in the game, so I'm just looking at myself while I'm talking to myself. It's fine, don't worry about it. Alright. There's one on the beach, and then there's one last one in town, and we should have all of Maggie's letters. And then we can go into the shelter. I am glad that we started this sort of collectible hunt before the little cutscene that happened at the last bit of the last part. Because it would have sucked to have to go all the way around the map again when we were already sort of halfway around where we needed to be now. Well, let's look at the cave.
Huh. Guess we're not going in there again. Whatever happened must have caved in the opening.
Well, that's good. Nobody will ever go in there again.
Oh. Maggie says she hopes the notes are found by the correct person. Well, I guess that'll have to be us.
Yes, it will. Something that's sort of a theme with this game is that a lot of the people have somebody who died. That's sort of what's brought them all together, kind of, other than like maybe Nona and Ren. But Alex and Clarissa lost Michael, Jonas lost his mom. Oh yeah, Butts here. And Maggie lost Anna. So everybody sort of has had to deal with death. Which is why, like, fuck these ghosts. But it does sort of ruin one of my earlier sort of theories. Sleepy Time Gal, which I thought may have been a reference to Jonas's mom about her possibly being one of the ghosts. It could still be a reference to Jonas's mom. She definitely died of cancer. But I don't. She's obviously not one of the ghosts. The ghosts are just the crew members of the ship. So it's a little bit wrong, but a little bit right. All right, let's continue on. We got one last letter, and then we should be able to piece the whole story together in order. That will be nice. But I mean, we've gotten the gist of it. Maggie fucked up, and a shit ton of people died. I think it was almost 100 people on board the Kanaloa, plus Anna. So, where is it? Okay. Time has not seemed to have been moving on, so that's good. We're right about where we should be, I guess. 5:30 by the time we get to the cave, it'll be almost dawn, which is when they said we had until, so. And the last letter should be right next to the antique store. It's not. Ah, there it is.
Oh my god, the Kanaloa was destroyed by friendly fire? We've been lied to all this time.
Oh, shit. Alright, I'm not going to read that one because that was the last letter. So, let's piece it all together. So, yes, okay, so there's a similar statue of a soldier in Maine where I grew up. My memory of it is, I think, part of the reason why I said yes when the Army recruited me out of college despite my family's protestations. Anna, my closest friend from childhood, was of course thrilled at the possibility of my escape. I anonymously started the petition in 1975 to have this one made after the daughter of Kanaloa crewman Francis Salter asked. I don't know why, a marker maybe for the hope I once had to help people. Recruits learned communication technology here, and several others learned code breaking, it's true. But due to my aptitude in math and mechanical engineering, I was assigned code making, specifically ciphers with which to conceal projects from even other government agencies. It was a job I grew increasingly uncomfortable with, but my keen interest in radio science had me pulling double duty as a comms officer. I remember one of the Kanaloa engineers, Francis, calling me a radio woman. As far as he knew, it was my only job. I was on watch duty in the tower when it happened, having just gotten back from an early leave from the reading of my father's will. For years, I childishly blamed him for this, too, his one last act against me. But it was nobody's fault or decision but my own. I'm sure it was Francis Salter who sent the Kanaloa's distress signal. It had been cut off, I still don't know why, and I hastily interpreted the garbled transmission as an attempt to jam radar. And so I sent back the guidebook recommendation to scout and bomb if necessary. This is the piece we just picked up. The USS Walter Roy, a destroyer escort, sunk the USS Kanaloa with friendly fire on October 25, 1943. It had held a developmental nuclear reactor in its belly and had been sent out weeks earlier as a test of its capabilities. Relatively few even knew of its existence, which tripled the base's confusion when the submarine communications had been cut. No one outside of a handful of us would ever know the truth. I would discover later that a weapons technician on the Walter Roy had been at Francis Salter's wedding. Salter was an engineer on the Kanaloa. I don't know why, but it's strange to me. The first transmissions from the lost soldiers were recorded here by a signal officer training new recruits. I heard about it soon after. Yes, word of the childlike, almost playful messages spread quickly, but the broadcasts were usually dismissed as an ongoing prank, faulty equipment, or AM stations bouncing off the Midland. However, after I successfully decoded one as a mayday from Calvin Gilbert, an electrician who perished on the USS Kanaloa, I knew it had to be something more. Marianne Bozick, forever engraved on the command annex's memorial plaque, was a kind, humble woman who helped me decode the ghost's unusual messages. I don't think she ever really believed my hypothesis that they were relays from the sunken submarine, even though she corresponded with, as she put it, a man named Calvin, an electrician who died on the Kanaloa. I pieced together the truth, the cover-up, and my own tragic mistake that killed him and his mates over months of careful deciphering. When people in the comms department began transferring off, I was able to convince my higher-ups, including, coincidentally, one eventual Army passenger on board the Kanaloa, Henry Griffin, to bring Anna on board as a replacement. Anna had been working in broadcasting, so it made enough sense to the upper ranks. Incidentally, when I dream, it is usually during this time period, amidst the change, and I am trying to prevent Anna from ever coming. My belief, bolstered by Anna's and my research conducted largely at the Catbird station where interruptions were rare, is that the men and women of the USS Kanaloa were separated from our dimensional existence by the implosion of the submarine's nuclear reactor. I identified one passenger, Henry, by his call sign, and his confused diction and reliance on game logic says to me that their emotional states, if not mental states, had been reduced to that of children, a thought I cling to when I envision Anna's demise. Anna and I frequently conducted tests at what was once the East Barracks here during the brutal War of 51. Waves of any kind, radio, nuclear, electromagnetic, seemed able to pass through all existences under certain circumstances, which explained our ability to get communique sent from them. This might also justify the frequency of hearing one of the Kanaloa's electrician's call signs, Calvin Gilbert, come echoing through the relays. On April 4th, 1952, we would attempt to reverse the manifest breakdown and bring the soldiers back. After stealing equipment from this relay station, Anna and I entered the cave just before dawn to try and communicate directly with the crew of the USS Kanaloa. We successfully tuned into the source of the temporal tear and spoke, albeit briefly, to Henry Griffin, an SOC sergeant who died on the sub, but the power overwhelmed my dear Anna, and she was absorbed into its ridge. All that remains there now is the flickering hue of a partially open gate, a window to the perpendicular space that seems to have augmented the submarine's call. But of all my regrets, perhaps the deepest is knowing that Anna's last vision of me was of me fleeing from her in terror. After the fort closed, I used the considerable resources from my father's endowment to buy up most of the land, or influence government officials to declare that which I could not buy protected. I had not been entirely successful, and have watched in horror as a small tourist industry has precariously sprung upon this cursed island. Even the family of one of the sailors who died, Calvin Gilbert, set up a restaurant to cater to inquisitive out-of-towners. I can promise this, though. The museums will never happen, and the beach and caves will be boarded up. To whoever is finding these notes, understand my hope is that by enshrouding its intelligence in such an obtuse manner, its detection will discourage most innocent seekers, thereby allowing it to befall the correct person, and not the easily distracted military mind, nor the typically bewildered excursionist. Do not blame the submarine's crew. I don't believe its passengers, like Henry Griffin, can even understand what has truly happened to them. And you do not have to forgive me for my myriad of failures. But please remember the name Anna Shea. Know that she did not deserve her fate. To whom it may concern, this island is a lie. I've been compelled by both forces outside my control and my own willful concern for the safety of others to conceal that many truths about Edwards Island. But now I feel any further inaction may carry a far greater risk. Inside you'll find 2 wall-equipped radios. I have commandeered the old Cardinal Station 140.1 and used it to relay clues to nearby beacons buried throughout the area. Find these beacons and the notes within, and discover the true chronicle of the island. To whoever finds the material, know that I am discomforted from keeping it hidden, and ashamed of the lies I helped preserve. But also know that I acted in what I felt were the best interests for all at the time, and truly for the interests of time itself. Margaret Adler. So, we're going to leave this here. We have discovered the truth about what happened on Edwards Island, and now we are going to enter the shelter in the next part. Work our way to the cave, and we're going to finish this once and for all. Alright, I will see you then, guys.